Today on the show, ladies, if you wear winged eyeliner or hoop earrings, you are apparently a bit of a racist.
Welcome to the future, where the glass is half full and you'll need new glasses, where you'll be jumping from conclusions.
The past is annulled, and a new future is born.
Never before in history has so much meant so little to so many. AD on the radio.
So, ever since the Jussie Smollett thing went down, people, I guess, have been taking a second and third look at incidences of alleged hate crime. And you know what? People should. Anytime there's perceived injustice, anytime there is perceived bigotry, anytime there is perceived inequality, there should be a good hard look taken at this. I'll tell you why. There are, as we discussed on the show a little while ago, plenty of people who are willing to cry wolf. And the reason why it's important to investigate claims thoroughly of any kind of discrimination, of any kind of injustice, of any other, is because when you do cry wolf, when you claim injustice or hatred or any of those things, what it does is it takes weight away from the times where there genuinely is an instance of hatred, a hate crime, an injustice, or something like that. And the more people cry wolf, falsely report, fabricate stories, the more righteous indignation is misplaced, the harder it makes it to deal with the actual and very real problem of getting everybody in this country the same shot at everything. So it's good that people are taking a second look and a third look at perceived hate crimes. And there's some times where it's very difficult. If you go into any kind of relationship therapy or any kind of counseling between family members or anything like that, one of the first tools that a therapist will use to explain to you how life works, because you get so caught up in the moment you forget, is that tissue box. You ever done that? You go into a therapy session, there's going to be a tissue box because you're going to get into some deep stuff and you're going to cry. So there's always a tissue box there. And the therapist will almost invariably do that thing where they hold up the tissue box, or they ask you to hold up the tissue box. And they'll say, you see what's going on here? You see what's going on? No, what's going on? Well, you see one side of the tissue box. The other person sees the other side of the tissue box. And, well, neither of you can see the whole tissue box, so you don't really have the whole story. And it's basically telling people to settle the hell down and try and get the full truth before they jump to a conclusion and get all angry and start screaming and yelling at each other. And that applies to these situations. What's the other expression? It's a good one. There's three sides to every story. Your version, my version, and the truth. Well, a lot of these instances of perceived hate crimes need a very close and thorough look to determine what really is or is not going on. There are some, however, that don't warrant as significant of an investigation. Like this one. Here's the thing. I think for this to have actually been a hate crime, Mother Nature herself would have to be bigoted. You catch this? This happened in a small South Carolina town. And this happened to the mayor of the small South Carolina town. Darnell Bird McPherson, the volunteer mayor of the small town of Lamar, says that she filed a police report on February 7th, claiming that her car and her husband's car had been in some way, shape, or form vandalized. She said that there was a yellow sticky substance. Ugh, yellow sticky substance. Gross. And it had been found all over her car and her husband's cars. She said, and I quote, "I likened it as a hate crime because, number one, there's a history in our town of Lamar. But here's the thing. When somebody reports a hate crime, it should be investigated. And it was investigated. Police delved into the situation. I guess there is a history of hate crime in Lamar. And so it warranted a good look. But upon further investigation and some analysis, local police determined that the substance, the yellow sticky substance that had in an act of malice been left all over her and her husband's cars, well, it was pollen. Yeah. Determined that the substance was pollen, which would, like I said, require Mother Nature herself to be a bigot. But now she's angry. She's angry that the substance wasn't saved and the cars were actually cleaned. Pressure washed twice. And because the substance wasn't saved, they didn't have it for a second opinion for the investigation. She insists it's something that's sticky that stuck to my car that took 2 different solutions to get off. Okay. Now, look, by the way, I'm not there. I don't have the full story. Maybe it was a yellow sticky substance that police officers decided to cover up. Maybe it was an effort to usurp her authority. Maybe it was... maybe it was just Mother Nature being... okay, no, that's cheap. Maybe it was something. Maybe there was something more devious and underhanded. But, like I said, the police said it was pollen. I'm inclined to go with them on that. She went on to say it's something that's sticky that stuck to my car. It took 2 different solutions to get it off. Darlington County Sheriff's Office, this guy called Lieutenant Robbie Kilgo, had to talk to Newsweek about this. This made national headlines. Pollen on a car. Because it could have been a hate crime. He said there was no reason for us to collect a sample. We knew it was pollen. It was pollen. The deputy mayor of this, or volunteer mayor of this town, continues to say that she is the victim of targeted vandalism and had a possible suspect in mind at the time. So police, by the way, I want you to know this investigation is ongoing. Police referred the case to the South Carolina Law Enforcement Division, or SLED. A SLED spokesman says that an investigation will be subsequently launched, but they did not believe a crime occurred. They said, we reviewed the incident report, but we did not open a formal investigation because it looked like, there's pollen on someone's car, which would require Mother Nature herself to be a bigot. Now, I don't mean to be jocular about this. I don't mean to say that hate crime shouldn't be taken seriously and investigated, but if there are remnants of racism and acts of hatred that are perpetrated in this small community, well then, we should focus on that. And maybe realize that sometimes the need to pressure wash your car is just a need to pressure wash your car.
Real radio. 104.1.
Where the left and right come together for fundamental truths. AD on the radio, on Twitter at ADSXE.
So I have to tell you, I'm not looking for an argument on this one, but I am looking for an opinion that is not mine, because I just don't understand. It seems absolutely freaking ridiculous. It seems so contradictory to anything that's going to move us all forward. It seems so contradictory to anything that is actually going to get us anywhere nearer to equality that I just don't freaking understand it. There are certain things that are for everyone, I think, like food. Food, music, style, culture, all these things are things for all of us that can be enjoyed by all of us. And even more importantly than that, food. Oh my gosh. Food can bring people together. There's a reason why there's a sort of borderline religious reverence to the idea of breaking bread with one another. If you sit down and you have a meal with someone, then you are sharing something special. You are bringing yourselves together and closer. You want to get to know somebody? You have a new coworker? Let's go out to lunch. Let's break bread together. Let's get a dinner. Food is notorious the world over for its ability to break down divides. And not only do you have the act of sitting down and eating together, man, you've got the act of sitting down and eating somebody else's food. I've never had this before. Oh my gosh, what did I have the other day? I think they're called shirashi peppers. I was so excited because, man, you get to a stage in life where you feel like you've eaten it all. And if you haven't eaten it, you do it because, or you don't, if you haven't eaten it, rather, it's a conscious decision. And I sat down to have dinner with an old friend the other day, and he ordered this bowl of peppers. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, oh man, they're delicious. And look, there's all sorts of different ways of preparing peppers, but these were in a bowl. And I think they were in sort of a soy glaze. And I tried one. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to need a serving of these. He's like, you can have as many of mine as you want. I was like, no, you don't want to share them with me. I will eat them all. So I ordered my own serving of shirashi peppers. I think that's what they were called. I got to look it up. And not only was I delighted with how unbelievably freaking delicious they were, I was delighted to have discovered something new. I was like, oh my God. I went home and I Googled it, and you'd think I'd remember the name. But I was like, this is this kind of food, and this is who invented it, and this is, wow. Because it was so interesting. It was spicy in the same way that jalapeno-based foods are, which reminded me of Mexican food. But it was also cooked in this sort of sweet soy glaze, which was, Asian tasting, as many things that are soy seasoned are. And I was so excited. And you know what? It brought me closer to my friend who had been eating these for as long as he could remember. He was like, oh man, these are the best. Yeah, my mom used to make these growing up. And he was from a different part of the world than me and a different ethnicity than me. So it was cool. We had a little bonding moment over food that brought us together. And he was like, this isn't how my mom made them, but this is still really good. I was like, well, I'm probably going to make them this way, if I try and make them, because this is one of the most delicious and interesting and unique things I've ever had. You ever had these? They're so good. But we shared a moment over food. We were brought closer together. And bear in mind, we were already friends, but we were brought closer together in our friendship through the medium of sitting down, breaking bread, and trying some food that, well, I was previously unaware of. So when someone like, who was it? It was Jamie Oliver, that English chef. He was accused of cultural appropriation because it wasn't jerk chicken. I think it was jerk rice. We talked about it on the show when it happened. But he put out his own brand of jerk rice, and he was told he was culturally appropriating jerk food, and that was not for him to do because he was white and he was English, and England has a shameful history of colonialism and all the above. But food can bring people together. Food can narrow cultural divides. Food can make divisions and gaps in understanding go away. And the same could be said for music. I remember when I was a kid growing up, I used to rap. I was in this obnoxious screaming rap metal group that kind of took me around the world a couple times, and it was a good old time. But when I wasn't in the band, I used to go to this club in London that had open mic nights and rap battles. I used to go battle regularly. And I was pretty much the only person who was white that would go to this night. And I remember initially I got some grief for it. Like, oh, white kid thinks he can rap. And I would start talking and they'd be like, oh, you're American. Yeah, where are you from? New York. Well, New York is a home of hip hop. This is now okay. It was interesting. The fact that I had roots in New York City, the home of hip hop, in England, managed to make the built-in prejudice against my color of skin dissolve. I thought the whole thing was silly. I was like, it shouldn't matter that I'm white, and nor should it matter that I'm from New York. It should matter whether or not I'm a decent enough rapper. And compared to the rest of the people that were coming there, I was. Anyways, there was a person that would adjudicate these rap battles, by the way. And every time I got declared a winner, which was, as I recall, pretty much all the time, people said, like, you're only getting that because you're from New York, because you're American. Yeah. I was like, wow, just can't freaking win. I'm too white. Then it's okay because I'm from New York. Then if I wasn't from New York, I would never be picked as a winner. It was a weird thing. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm just here to enjoy music, and I'm here to better myself at my chosen competitive sport, which at the time was battle rapping. So, yeah, it was a very strange thing. But I remember feeling like this is dumb. Music brings people together. Food brings people together. Fashion, hairstyles, these bring people together. And, you know, there was a time, too, and back then nobody cared. Nobody cared about people that were white, like me, having dreadlocks. And I know this because there was a very brief and regrettable period of my life where I had dreadlocks. I mean, if you're a white guy with dreads, you can't really do that past the age of 18. I think I was like 17 or something like that. But I had dreads, and no one ever really gave me a hard time over it. There was a time when I had cornrows too. I know. I had really long hair. I had cornrows. I was trying to look like Dexter Holland, the lead singer of The Offspring. Remember, he used to have those? No one gave Dexter Holland a hard time for having the cornrows. No one gave me a hard time for having the dreadlocks. But now it's a humongous no-no to culturally appropriate someone else's style in that way. It's insulting. It's wrong. It's viewed as wildly politically incorrect. And look, I get it. There are many instances where people have been ripped off and not compensated for their creations. As a person that spends a lot of my time creating, I get it. There was a time when I can't remember the fate. There was a parody Twitter account that I noticed started stealing a lot of my tweets, and they had millions upon millions of followers. And I was like, hey, tweet stealer, what the hell are you doing? Cut it out. I don't make money off of this, but I know you do, so stop it. And they stopped it once I caught them. And so I understand what it is. I understand where the venom toward cultural appropriation comes from. I understand people that say, hey, white people are profiting off of this. A different set of people invented it. They never got credit. They never got recognition. They never got money. But white people are making all the loot off of it. What the hell, man? What the hell? And I get that. I understand. Like I said, I understand the venom behind accusations of cultural appropriation. But fashion, substance, style, food, these are all tremendous mediums to break down cultural divides and bring people together, which is why I am kind of wondering what the hell to do with this piece of information about what earrings it's no longer okay for white people to wear.
For more stimulation and less irritation, 9 out of 10 doctors choose KPRC AM 950, Houston's more stimulating talk radio.
Don't get the blues, get all the news. We mean all of you guys out there in Radioland. All aboard!
He's back. AD on the radio.
So, like I said, food, music, art, fashion. I mean, no, I don't know anything about fashion. I've been in jeans and sneakers my entire life, and I take my jeans and my sneakers very seriously. But I don't think I own an outfit that head to toe would cost anybody more than $60. And the vast majority of that is coming from the sneakers. It's not a big thing for me. But I do appreciate the way fashion can bond people. I do appreciate the way fashion can bring people together. That's the amazing thing about art and the expression of it. And there's art in all of these things. There's art in food. There's art in fashion, style, whatever you want to call it. There's art in music. And these are the things that make us the same, not the things that make us different. Dave Grohl was asked about his personal politics not so long ago. And he was like, look, we're not like Rage Against the Machine, where every song is about politics. He's like, yeah, I feel very strongly about some political things. I feel very strongly about political things to the point where I express them in my songs. But I'm not spelling it out there because I don't want it to take away from our music. I don't want it to become something people fight over or divided by. He said, we can play to thousands and thousands of people every single night. And every single one of those people will be standing on their feet, singing at the top of their lungs, singing our song, singing the same song. He was like, I don't know how the audiences that came into our show voted, nor do I care. What I care about is the ability to get people that voted differently from one another to sing the same song. Dave Grohl put it in a very succinct and artful way. We, as musicians, have the ability to get people to come together and sing the same song, regardless of their political beliefs. That's a difficult thing to do, but we do it. And that is the value of music. That is the value of art. That is the value of culture. It's unbelievably powerful and unique ability to break down divides and unify folks. And I think we could all agree we could use some unity. We could use some getting on the same page. We could use some not vilification of those that think differently than us. Did I say that right? I don't know. You get the point. Which is why when someone says, you can't eat that kind of food, you're culturally appropriating. You can't serve that kind of food, you're culturally appropriating. You can't be a rapper because you've got the wrong color of skin. That was something people said to me. You can't wear those clothes because you're culturally appropriating. You can't have that hairstyle because you're culturally appropriating. You're missing a tremendous opportunity for unity. And if you're on the receiving end of inequality, I understand wanting something that's just your own. I understand the righteous anger that comes from feeling like, hey, your people created something, white folks appropriated it, then they're profiting off of it, and you're not making anything off of it, nor the creators of it. That's wrong, that's stealing. I get it, but at some point, art becomes art, style becomes style, music becomes music, and it has an ability to bond folks. And it's a hard time. It's a hard time in America and in the rest of the world trying to keep up. If you are somebody who does their very best to remain politically correct at every turn, if you're trying to respect everybody's feelings, if you're trying to toe every single line that appears every single day, it's difficult keeping up with this stuff. Political correctness is something that stymies our humanity an awful lot. I'm not saying that there aren't instances where the right thing has been done, where horrible age-old traditions that minimize another person's experience have been done away with thanks to political correctness. That's true. But there comes a point where it should be okay for people to wear the size of earrings they would like to wear. You catch this? Pitzer College in Claremont, California. The story is reported in the Claremont Independent. White female students were recently made aware of another cultural appropriation that they were guilty of. Specifically, wearing hoop earrings. Yes, hoop earrings. While on the side of a dormitory at Pitzer College devoted to unmoderated free speech through art, something there called the Free Wall, was recently painted by a group of Latino students who wrote the message, "White girl, take off your hoop earrings." The Claremont Independent also reported that responsibility for the message was claimed by a junior who said, "The art was created by myself and a few other women of color after being tired and annoyed with a reoccurring theme of white women appropriating styles that belong to the black and brown folks who created the culture. The culture actually comes from a historical background of oppression and exclusion. The black and brown bodies who typically wear hooped earrings and other accessories like winged eyeliner, gold nameplate." Oh, really? Winged eyeliner? You're culturally appropriating if you do your eye makeup in a certain... Anyways, goes on to say that, wow, winged eyeliner, really? The black and brown bodies who typically wear hooped earrings and other accessories like winged eyeliner, gold nameplate necklaces, etc. are typically viewed as ghetto and are not taken seriously by others in their daily lives. Because of this, I see our winged eyeliner, lined lips, and big hoop earrings serving as symbols and as everyday acts of resistance, especially here at the Claremont colleges. Meanwhile, we wonder, why should white girls be able to take part in this culture wearing hoop earrings just because of one case of it and be seen as cute or aesthetic? White people have actually exploited the culture and made it into fashion. And look, this is kind of a fascinating conflict, an interesting dilemma to approach. Because, well, the idea is diversity, right? This is what a lot of folks that'll tell you is important. America suffers from a lack of diversity. Opportunities are not handed out to people of color. Opportunities are not handed out in the same way or the same measure to people that are not white. And that certainly exists, and that's certainly a problem. It certainly must be dealt with. But the conflict and where it gets interesting is due to the fact that, well, on the one hand, we, who have been raised by folks that don't have prejudice, like my parents, we were taught to love and embrace all regardless of what culture they came from. I didn't have to be taught not to be racist. My parents led by example and never treated anybody differently. I think it got handed down from my grandfather on my dad's side, but he had this unbelievable ability that his family picked up on and admired to make you feel like you were the center of the universe when he was talking to you. And it didn't matter if you were a captain of industry. It didn't matter if you were a high-ranking military officer. It did not matter if you were someone who was working for him at his place of business, or the kid that was mowing his lawn, or the guy who was doing the garbage. My grandfather had this ability to make everybody he was talking to feel like they were being held in high regard. And really, he just did it by taking them seriously as a person and listening to the things that they had to say. And so that was sort of passed on to me by my parents, I suppose. Never once occurred to me to treat somebody differently because of their station in life, who they are, what they do, where they come from, the color of their skin, their race, their gender, their ethnicity, any of the above. It was a non-issue. But I was taught to embrace things that were different than me. All sorts of cultures, all types and varieties of music, especially. My mom was a cellist, and anytime I found something new and interesting that she hadn't heard musically, she was like, oh, let's listen to this. Oh, wow, they do this differently. I guess it's because it comes from this type of country, and they use certain scales that are not as common in European music. I remember breaking down certain ethnicities of music with my mom and saying, oh, wow, it is different, but it's something that I want to embrace. And it was a different choice of notes in a situation where somebody that was European, if they were a composer, would have gone with something that was a little bit more familiar to our ear. So I was taught to embrace and enjoy all the opportunities for culture, art, and whatever it is that were out there. So to be told that's wrong makes you scratch your head and go, I'm just trying to be a decent person and wear my hoop earrings. Not me, but you know what I'm saying.
Now, more AD on the radio.
Alrighty then, let's you and I take a look at the events of today in our segment My Witness News before we get out of here. What is going on in the world? So if you or somebody that you know is considering going under the knife to enhance what you've got going on in the old boxer shorts, if you are considering an enhancement of the old manly apparatus, if you are thinking about having that most significant of male appendages made to be surgically more than it already is, you might want to think twice about it, because as it turns out, it could kill you. Yeah, did you see this? A billionaire diamond trader died recently during enlargement surgery for that most masculine of appendages. He allegedly passed away after an unidentified substance was injected directly into his twig and berry region during the surgery. Yeah, a billionaire who went in for penile enhancement surgery passed away during the procedure. I think his family intends to sue the surgeon. And I would imagine that the case is going to be heard in small claims court. The Democratic National Committee has gone on the record saying they will not let Fox News host any Democratic primary debates. I mean, it's interesting because, well, we've all known that news is partisan. We all know. Well, look, what did we call it yesterday? The outrage industrial complex. We all know that media makes big dollars by keeping us divided and pitting ourselves against one another. So it's not news that, well, Fox is no friend to the Democrats and vice versa with the folks over at MSNBC. But this is interesting. This is a firm political line in the sand saying, nope, you don't get to host any of the Democratic primary debates. No, this is not for you. You're not our kind of broadcasters. You're not our kind of people. No. And, well, with all the scrutiny that's being placed on the media, both the left and the right, it's an interesting notching it up of the situation that the Democratic National Committee has gone on the record saying they will not let Fox News host any Democratic primary debates. Mostly, I think, because they're worried that Fox would broadcast them with a laugh track. Oh, man. Did you hear who passed away? It's the end of an era. This is a guy who is an inventor. An inventor who created something that every last one of us has used. It's not just that we use this thing. It's one of those things where you can't imagine what life would be like without it. The world without this thing existing is an unthinkable prospect. And the man who just passed away, like I said, invented it. Who was he? What did he create? Well, his name was Jerry Merriman. Do you know who Jerry Merriman is? Jerry Merriman, besides having one of the snappiest sounding names in the history of snappy sounding names, Jerry Merriman was the inventor of the handheld calculator. He died this week at the age of 86. Yes. Jerry Merriman, the inventor of the handheld calculator, has passed away at the age of 86. But at least He died after he got a chance to do what he loved. Show teenagers how to make a calculator spell boobs. Good night, sir. Thank you forever. Thank you for everything. 80085 forever. Oh, man. Did you know what holiday it was today? If you're like me, today was a day that celebrates something that we enjoy every single day. Love it. What are we talking about? Well, here's a hint. It was on this date in 1897 that one Dr. John Kellogg served up the world's first bowl of cornflakes. Yeah. It was sort of the invention of the breakfast cereal. Today is National Cereal Day. What's your favorite cereal? Everybody's been asking me this all day long. I like Kix. I know, I'm incredibly boring. I like Kix. I've always liked Kix. My mom was really, really serious about us not eating sugar and artificial colors and artificial flavors. And therefore, when everybody else that I grew up with was pounding Fruit Loops for breakfast and Lucky Charms and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and Golden Grahams and all these absolutely delicious things that I wasn't allowed to have, she was like, no, you get two things. You get grape nuts, you get Kix. And then we used to have this tradition where instead of a bowl of Kix, I would get to have a bowl of Trix when the leaves change colors, because there are all these different colors in a bowl of Trix, and it was sort of like an autumn tradition. I knew I had that to look forward to. Once a year, we could get a box of Trix. Oh man, I was living then. And you know what? I really I was jealous of all the kids that got to have the Golden Grahams and the even Honey Bunches of Oats and things of that nature. Seemed like a tasty and sweet treat that I wasn't allowed to have. But all the kids that had the Cinnamon Toast Crunch and the Golden Grahams and the Frosties and even I knew as a kid though, Frosties, what is this? It's like, it's just sugar. It's pure sugar. There's literally nothing good in this for you. This can't be good for you. This doesn't seem like breakfast. Otherwise, I'd be allowed to eat sugar for breakfast. I was like, a bowl full of sugar doesn't seem like a good idea, and I'm a kid, and even I know that. But wasn't allowed to have any of this stuff. And as much as I was jealous, in retrospect, I have to admit that my mom was right. Giving a kid a bowl full of sugary cereal and sending him off into his day and expecting him to have that day be a good one, you're not really living in the land of reality. So I'm glad my mom raised me without sugary cereals for breakfast. And it's weird because at the time I really did love Kix, and I still love them now. And now that I'm an adult and I can eat these things, now that I can have a big bowl of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, I do every once in a while, but Kix will always be my favorite. I'll always come back to Kix. A bowl of Kix with a banana cut up in it. It's delicious. Absolutely delicious. Like I said, that's my favorite cereal. I am boring. But yeah, today is National Cereal Day. And we all know what our favorite cereals are. We all know what the best cereals are. So instead, I thought we would take a minute to check out the list I found of the least popular cereals ever. They are as follows: Cream of Meat, Honey Bunches of Bratwurst, Frosted Foot Fungus Flakes, Razor Brand, definitely not a good one, Cap'n Crotch, Poop Loops, and finally, the least popular cereal of all time, Ordinary K. That is it for me. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you for being a part of my radio family. As always, this time that you and I spend together, it really is the best part of my day every single day. If you want to weigh in on anything we've talked about today and join in the conversation, you can do so by tweeting me or hitting me up on Instagram at ADSXE, or you can email me ad@iheartradio.com. Have yourself an awesome one. Happy Cereal Day.